Yes, we just heard from Governor Brad Little, and this morning we actually had breakfast with the governor as a part of the annual On the Record Idaho Press Club Breakfast with the Governor event. And Governor Little answered questions from local media outlets on the hot topics at the State House and major policy discussions across our state. Now, something Little touched on that we discussed just yesterday: absentee voting. In case you missed this, there's proposed legislation in the State House that would narrow down who can get an absentee ballot, as opposed to now where almost anyone can request one and get one. Now, the proposed law would only allow a few situations to get an absentee ballot, and that includes active duty military, if a person has an illness, disability, or they're hospitalized, people that need to work or attend university, or a person out of the country on a religious mission. The legislation also does allow for winter birds, or people who move away for winter months to a warmer area. Those people could also get an absentee ballot, but it's very narrow. Now, for this to be law, it would eventually need to be signed by Governor Little. Here's his thoughts on the divisive topic.
It ought to be easy to vote and hard to cheat. That's my old Ben Usursa-ism that I'll insert at this point in time. I look forward to the debate, but I think absentee voting is particularly in rural Idaho, is so important that I'm not all that excited about it.
So not really a yes or a no on if he supports the legislation, but you get a strong feeling for how Little views that topic. And a topic we know how Governor Little feels: his proposed Idaho Launch program. That's an idea from Governor Little to send eligible Idaho high school student graduates $8,500 to pursue in-demand careers after high school, or for those who have a GED. Now, Little has seen some pushback on the idea from lawmakers in terms of it being a handout or a program that might not improve the job force as much as Little hopes. Still, though, Governor Little believes that his goal for the session, passing this, will have a good look at passing, considering how job development through education looks now.
This turns that on its head and is driven by students and the demand in healthcare jobs, the demand in cybersecurity jobs, the demand in education jobs. So it's a total transformation. So whenever you take something that's been around for a long time and transform it, you've got a higher hurdle, and that's what we're, there was some of the debate in the House that I did not agree with. I didn't think it was accurate. I think it was a possible perception issue. I think we're going to be okay, but it's a big change.
So as you heard the governor imply, Idaho Launch still working its way through the State House. We'll update you as the movement goes on there. And finally for you, yes, Governor Little commented on the idea of Greater Idaho. Long story short, that is the idea to add a chunk of Eastern Oregon to Idaho. The reason from proponents of the idea: Eastern Oregon fits the culture, lifestyle, and politics of Idaho much better than Western Oregon. Little didn't say yes or no, but did touch on the long process and practical hurdles he sees with the plan.
Constitutional process to move a state line. I think the last time it was done was in the early 50s or 40s, and it was just a minor adjustment. This would be a huge adjustment. It's got to pass both legislature, it's got to pass Congress, and of course one of the things it's going to do is change the electoral. There's going to be electoral votes that were blue that are going to be red under almost every scenario. So it's got a long way to go. First thing that's going to happen is, unless we amend the Constitution, the size of a legislative district is going to go to 70 or 80,000. And the people that live in big districts and represent big districts complain about, people in Idaho are used to having access to their legislators. This is going to reduce the access to the legislators unless we amend the Constitution.
So we've seen a lot of your text messages over the last several weeks. Does anyone know what Governor Little feels about? There you go, on Greater Idaho. And these were just a few of the topics Governor Little touched on today. Next on the news at 6, Andrew Bartline is taking a look at what Little is saying on other big topics, the way Idaho lawmakers are handling those topics, and if that lines up with what Idahoans want from lawmakers. Now, we usually see, as you just saw, Governor Little through a serious business-like lens for obvious reasons. But during our breakfast with the governor, Little got in some of his signature one-liners. And we as a team here at 208, we don't know if Governor Little knows these are signature one-liners, but our team realized he has a tendency to drop a few funny moments here and there. And those don't usually make air for you. But today's different. It's a fun Friday, right? So there is, of course, Governor Brad Little, but within that, of course, still a guy named Brad from Emmett. as he puts it. Anyways, here's a few moments showing the latter for you.
Thanks, Betsy. Well, good morning. Yeah, you didn't tell me about that on the record part. I thought that was... So that changes everything. How much time we got? Political discourse. If you're not at the table, there's a chance you're on the menu. And they better get at the table. I would never correct the press. You need a pencil? I won't name names, Betsy. I try and stay in my lane, and that's not my lane. But that's just Brad from Emmett. But I also think Brad from all the other cities probably tend to agree with me, but I kind of got a day job right now. I suppose I was supposed to say something else, Madison, but I forgot it. I talked long enough, my coffee's cold. Thanks, Betsy. Thank you. Let's sell Channel 7 their microphone back.
It's all yours, man.
Valley Fields is ambitious, investigative reporter. It's great. Go read Absence of Malice.
Okay, I will. Thanks, Governor. Have a good Friday. So I didn't realize that Andrew was still rolling the camera when I went over to the governor to get our microphone back. But yes, we were talking about the latest movie he watched. A new movie for me to go check out this weekend, The Absence of Malice. Maybe our governor and I could launch a movie review? Probably not. Seems like he's pretty busy with his day job.